Hi, this is Dana Gardner, Principal Analyst at Inner Arbor Solutions, and you're listening to Briefings Direct. Today, we present a sponsored podcast discussion on ways that businesses are using cloud and e-commerce to improve how they do sales, marketing, and online transactions. We'll examine how one company, Ohio-based LLT Barcode Label, has found powerful new ways to develop sales and leads using Ariba Discovery. To learn more about how LLT Barcode Label is using the cloud to better connect with new customers, please join me in welcoming our guests today. We are here with Chris Hart. He's the account manager at LLT Barcode Label in Stowe, Ohio. Welcome, Chris.
Hi, welcome. How are you doing today, Dana?
Thanks, Dana. Glad to be here.
Rachel, let's start with you. This whole concept of finding customers, developing leads, using cloud, using the networked economy, and how people are all linked up now more and more. It's also, I think, perhaps a function of the data that people are now able to access. Tell me a little bit about how things have changed, say, now versus 5 years ago in terms of just connectedness and how this is now being brought to bear on an age-old problem, which is finding sellers for buyers and buyers for sellers.
Dana, it's a great question, and we're talking about major changes that have gone on in the past few years. If you think about the mantra around marketing, it's always been to make yourself, your product, your company relevant to potential buyers. And I think 10 or 15 years ago, as the internet was really coming into its own, it provided significantly more data that helped us be able to understand demographically and a little bit behaviorally who our customers were and what they were doing. But when we talk about the networked economy and business networks and connected commerce, we're really taking that to a whole nother level where as marketers, we're able to hyper-target our potential customers, not just on their demographics, but also be able to predict when they are going to be ready to buy, either because they overtly raise their hand and say, hey, I'm interested in buying via a connected RFI or RFQ process, but also by analyzing the myriad data that's available today and starting to put both unstructured data and structured data together in a way that helps us predict when they're going to be ready to buy. And that's when we can actually present them with compelling offers. So it really does change the whole nature of the game.
Chris Hart, to you, do you really care whether it's the cloud or the networked economy or whether it's structured or unstructured data? What appeals to you in all this in terms of the change that's going on?
Well, I think in general, you don't really care one way or another how you get it. It's just the one thing with the cloud and e-commerce and everything, it makes everything a lot easier. Not just for the seller, but also the buyer as well. And I think it really helps with the relationship and being on the cloud. Much simpler, much faster, much easier.
Well, cool. Tell us a little bit about LLT Barcode Label, if you wouldn't mind, so we have a better understanding of your business, the vertical, the challenges that you face in terms of growing your business, finding new customers.
Well, we started about 16 years ago now, and it was a small company, and we're still a small company where it's hard to get out in front of buyers. So whenever we started, we would send out about 500,000 catalogs a year, and those catalogs inside them have labels, thermal transfer ribbons, laser labels, and items like mobile computers and printers to be able to print those items, the labels as well. So we started out as a small company, basically a distributor, to where a company that needs to ship a label via FedEx or UPS or however, they need a label on that box to be able to ship their product. So as far as vertical markets go, you name a company, they have to ship something. They'd be able to use us. So we play in every single market there is out there. and we roughly gross about $12 million a year, and we have about 15 people that work for us.
Okay, so a mid-market firm, potentially a very wide addressable market with anyone essentially that's doing shipping and delivery activities. How did you do lead generation and sales and marketing before you started the cloud methods that have seemingly been so successful for you?
Well, the way we started is we would have a whole lot of catalogs printed with our most popular items, and then we would buy lists from Hoover's or somebody like that, and we would just basically send out 500,000 catalogs a year. And what we were hoping for is that everyone that got one of those catalogs would call us and want to buy something. But that's not the case. And as the years have gone on over the past 15, 20 years, that return on investment has gone down significantly as well. And so we basically started out as a catalog company, and now catalog companies are in a sense dying or aren't as successful by and large. So we had to find out new ways to grow our business.
Right, and so correct me if I'm wrong, but that was mostly you pushing your message into some other organization with not a lot of pull necessarily. It seems to me that you'd want a little of both, the pull and the push. How has the cloud changed that equation?
Well, I think the internet has really helped with two things. Number one, a lot of people at home personally are using places like Amazon.com and eBay, and they are getting used to just looking on the internet and needing to buy something. Now, whenever they go into their business, because it's so easy at home, they want to be able to do the same thing at work. It's a win-win for both sides. We don't have to print lots of catalogs a year, whereas they can just find us on our website or search engine via Google, Bing, however it may be.
And so why wasn't just creating a website and being part of the index, the massive index that Google and other search engines use? What is it that moving towards a structured cloud environment, an e-commerce cloud, a networked economy approach like Ariba Discovery, why was that better or different?
Well, the biggest thing with Ariba Discovery is it's very much like Match.com, to where we wanted to be in front of buyers whenever they were ready to place an order. We wanted to be that company that person on the other end is going to come search for us and see us and give us an opportunity for their business. So if I walk in the morning, I already have leads there. I already have an opportunity with a buyer on the other end that knows what they're looking for, and they're out there on Ariba Discovery asking me, hey, can you help me? And that's a lot easier than just hoping, kind of like the catalog theory, hoping that someone runs across your website.
Back to you, Rachel. When you hear Chris describing how they've come to these new approaches, what are you thinking? What is it that occurs to you? It seems to me that he's talking about an ability for a mid-market company to scale down to the individual. It's pretty impressive, the granularity with which commerce can happen, but not only that, but at the scale of a global marketplace. It's kind of fascinating that it's both downscale and upscale at the same time.
It is, and I think, if you listen to what Chris said, the internet has enabled business to be done faster, right? For him to find new customers faster and more efficiently. But I think where the business networks really differentiate themselves from the internet as a whole is that there's a common platform where both buyers and sellers are going to connect and to find very specific commodities or services that meet their specifications. And so by creating a platform that enables them to get to that level of granularity, enables them not just to conduct commerce faster, but conduct commerce smarter. So, as we look at the value of the business networks, and over the course of time, these networks are in essence aggregating more and more data and insights that ultimately help companies like LLT Barcode that's mid-market, that wants to do business globally, and global buyers that want to buy for various reasons, from companies that are either local suppliers, from companies that might be have green initiatives, or be owned by women-owned business or diverse owned business. So there's a lot of different criteria that go into determining who you want to buy from or sell to. And I think the beauty of the business network is that it gives you the ability to both get insight and get a lot of information on the buyer or the seller, but also be able to connect based on very, very specific criteria.
Right. Now, Chris, one of the things that's interesting in comparing a web-based, open internet approach to something more standardized is this, speaking of same language, same data, metadata, taxonomy. It might be one thing for you to put up information on your website, but somebody who's searching, or even the search engine algorithms, they might not understand the importance of certain terms and lingo. Is there something about going into a environment dedicated to buying and selling where you can actually line up the right information, description, indexing, and terms, or even just the way of doing business, the process behind doing business? Tell me a little bit about how a common, understood, business-oriented environment has helped with your results as well.
Well, with Ariba Discovery, it's great. They have postings for all sorts of commodities and items that a buyer may be looking for, that a buyer may check on his screen and then send out, per se, an RFQ. The nice thing about having that similar platform is that I set up a profile and I go out and I select specific commodities of the types of business and the items that we operate in. And with that, a lead is automatically given to me. So the buyer's out there looking for specific things, and it may be in his own terms, or maybe a little bit different than how he may search it on the internet and possibly miss us. Whereas I can take my list of commodities and then be automatically generated to where it's going to come pretty close, and he's going to be right there. He's going to be right there for me to be able to respond to that, whether or not we can help them, yes or no.
So those hit or miss semantic issues that are certainly part of the web are fixed, are amended. Your semantic matchmaking, as you put it earlier, is automated, and therefore I think that probably makes us a lot more powerful. Tell me how powerful. What are some examples of what's happened when you've gone to Ariba Discovery for lead generation and new market penetration?
So we started on Ariba Discovery looking around late 2011, and we were trying to find some other way to gain new business and to grow the business. And so we decided on Ariba Discovery in January of 2012. And there were a couple of RFPs out there, and I thought, why not give it a shot? So we respond to a couple, and what ended up happening is the first RFQ that I had responded to, it was for some blank labels and a couple of colored labels. And then a couple weeks later, I get an email from the client that had posted the RFQ, and they want us to bid on their entire distribution labels and ribbons and shipping items like that. And after going through their process of RFQs and add-in items and pricing and everything else, we actually won about a $400,000 deal via using Ariba Discovery. And that was for a 2-year contract, and that was the first one. You know, it was almost too good to be true. And the great thing about that was we started middle of January whenever I had responded to the RFQ, and we had the contract and everything signed, and they were buying from us in April. Very quick process.
What was your cost in acquiring this customer?
Whenever we were looking at Ariba Discovery, you can use Ariba Discovery for free. You can use the mid-level or the Advantage. And we decided to go with the Advantage. That way, it had some other benefits with the profile and things of that nature, and it was only $3,000. We decided to take some of our marketing budget and put it into that and at least give it a shot. And we were more than happy. We got our return on investment right away, and it's a much better and simpler process than sending out 500,000 catalogs a year.
Sure, absolutely. Rachel, again, reacting to what Chris has said, are we missing anything in this equation? You know, I'm interested in this semantic matchup that takes place and the data and how this can be automated. Chris is obviously talking about strong ROI. Is there more to the story here that we're missing in terms of how buyers and sellers are matching up in new ways?
That's a great question, Dana. And, you know, we love to hear stories like Chris's about immediate return on investment. And, you know, we hear them over and over again from suppliers on the network. So I think that, you know, one benefit, as we talked about, is the ability to define very specific criteria as a seller as to what you sell, so that when you do get posts that are directed to you, you know that they're relevant to you. So you're not wasting your time. You're not sifting through a lot of unqualified opportunities as a seller. And the benefit to the buyer is the same. So as the buyer posts, their posts are being sent to people who are all qualified, who all have the ability to meet the specifications that they've created. And therefore, it's saving a lot of time on their part as well. So when you look at the two-sided model, it really is a win-win both for the buyer and the seller within the network. But I think, you know, one of the hidden pieces of gold within the network is really the data that's created over time from all of this transactional information, as well as data that is created individually from buyers and sellers who are, for example, providing information on ratings and reviews on how quickly they got paid if they're a seller by a particular buyer, or the reverse, how accurate and on-time deliveries are if you're a buyer looking at sellers. So the unstructured information combined with a lot of structured data is really creating an opportunity to make much better matches and have buyers and sellers that are much more informed about one another as they enter into business relationships. And I think we all know the more that we understand and have well-defined expectations of our business partners, the more effective those relationships are over the course of time.
Chris, you've obviously been exploiting and enjoying benefits from the discovery aspects of the Ariba network in the cloud. But beyond the actual finding of that customer might have many years of business to be had, and there needs to be perhaps some automation or structure around that relationship. Have you been able to find that the services around process for procurement, automating the invoicing and PO process, the data even the transactions, is there sort of a slippery slope here that once you've established a connection with a customer, that there are other ways to exploit these services and make that a more efficient customer relationship?
Yeah, it's funny that you bring that up. Right now, that particular customer has gone to Ariba for some other items that they're going to start beginning to use for like procurement and different items like that. And then what we're hoping is that once that process takes over, then we can be in the supplier network and possibly even set up e-catalogs for them and make their process a whole lot more efficient, easier. That way, if they have any transition in buyers or someone's on vacation or anything like that, there's no questions of the items that they purchase from us. There's no questions the pricing. There's no questions on who to send the purchase orders to or anything like that. It's all handled by Ariba. Hopefully we'll be able to set up a catalog and they'll be able to, smoothly purchase from us, and it'll already help us being on the supplier network, and then them hopefully getting ramped up and making everything a whole lot more smooth.
Again, Rachel, reacting to that, it seems as if the discovery is an important part of this, but it's really kind of the point on the arrow, and there's a lot of wood behind that in terms of more streamlining, more efficiency. How are the new services being brought to bear on helping mid-market companies like LLT extend their benefits beyond lead generation into really the whole e-commerce life cycle?
I think it's great to hear Chris talk about the benefits as it relates to efficiency from a process perspective on the network. And I think, one of the other benefits of setting up a catalog to do business with that one buyer on the network is now you have a catalog set up on the network. So as you get additional buyers, you're using the same catalog and the same infrastructure, and can now start connecting with multiple buyers via the network, which enables you to create even greater efficiencies as a mid-market seller with, who may have limited resources within the company to issue invoices and reconcile invoices, et cetera. So I think that's, the efficiency of setting up one relationship is the starting point. There's much more efficiency as you start to establish more and more relationships as a seller over the network. But I think there are other services that we offer over the network that also create enormous value. And one example is our dynamic discounting program. So as a seller on the network, if you, for example, would like to get paid faster from one of your buyers, you can offer different payment terms. So if you have, let's say your contract is a net 60 payment term, and you'd like to get paid faster because you'd like to make some capital investments in your company, you can offer to provide a discount for a net 10 payment, for example. And we have many mid-market suppliers who have offered those discount terms to their buyers so that they can self-fund growth for their own companies. So that's yet another benefit of doing business on the network. And I will say the third major benefit is really the visibility and predictability that you have in the relationship with the customer. So at any point in time as a seller on the network, you can go in and you can see the status of where your order stands, or where your payment stands, or whether your invoice has been approved for payment. So it gives you a lot more visibility and therefore predictability as a mid-sized business into things like cash flow, so that you can anticipate when you're going to get paid instead of having to pick up the phone 16 times and say, hey, when's the check going to come? When, have you approved the invoice? So there's efficiency, there's visibility and predictability, and then there's the opportunity to really impact cash flow by using some of the more sophisticated tools like dynamic discounting to speed up payments.
Right. So Rachel, tell me a little bit about some of the future roadmap that Ariba is embarking on around perhaps, as I said, a wider, deeper, richer basket of goods and services.
One of the things that we're doing really focused on the lead generation side is expanding the services that we offer around Ariba Discovery that can help companies like LLT Barcode and Label find new customers worldwide. So two things, for example, related to that are the ability to create multiple profiles that are very highly targeted. So for the various products that LLT Barcode and Label offers, they could create a profile unique to different industries. So if there are different industry requirements around labels and barcodes, they can create very specific targeted profiles that really make them extremely relevant to buyers within various industries. Another service that we are offering is what we're calling sellers you might like, and that is the ability to, based on what someone is searching on, proactively suggest sellers that meet their criteria. So even if a buyer does a search and doesn't necessarily click on a particular supplier, if that supplier meets those criteria from an algorithm perspective, that supplier will be proactively suggested, especially if that supplier has received high ratings and reviews from other buyers on the network. So there are a couple of new services that are being offered from the discovery side that I think will really accelerate the ability for mid-market companies like LLT Barcode and Label to grow their business and expand the value that they get from using the Ariba network.
Okay, well, I'm afraid we're just about out of time, but Chris, I wonder if you might have any 2020 hindsight based on your experiences so far that you could, offer to other people who are looking to get started on this cloud-based commerce and lead generation activity. How to get started? What would you recommend for others as they embark on this?
I would definitely say give it a shot. I would set up a free profile, start getting some leads generated, something that comes your way. Definitely make sure you're in the right commodities. Don't start clicking boxes for commodities that you cannot offer. That way your leads are more precise, more ready to go, and then see what happens on the free. If you want a little bit of extra help and a little bit better outreach with the marketing profile, and I would say, maybe go up the next step or even all the way to the top like we did. We saw the benefits in doing that with the marketing help that we got from Ariba, and how to use the discovery tool. And like I said, that paid off for us, but I would definitely say give it a shot. If nothing else, just set up a free profile and see where that takes you.
All right, well, I'm afraid we'll have to leave it there. You've been listening to a sponsored Briefings Direct podcast discussion on ways that businesses are using cloud and e-commerce to improve how they do sales, marketing, and ultimately online transactions. And we've seen how one company, Ohio-based LLT Barcode and Label, has found a highly effective way to develop new sales and leads using Ariba Discovery. So let's thank our guests. We've been here with Chris Hart, account manager there at LLT Barcode and Label. Thank you so much, Chris.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it, Dana.
And also Rachel Spasser, the Senior Vice President of Marketing at Ariba, an SAP company. Thank you, Rachel.
Thanks, Dana. I appreciate the opportunity.
This is Dana Gardner, Principal Analyst at Inner Arbor Solutions. Thanks also to our audience for listening, and don't forget to come back next time.